All right, so today we'll be starting a new series of videos where I'll be reacting to different videos that DesignDoc does, which I definitely recommend. It's a channel that a while ago started making videos where he talks about different design things in video games and talks about how they should be applied or how he thinks things are being applied, how things are being used. And I think those videos are quite interesting, but I also believe that design is always something that is very subjective and also prone to discussions. Not everything works for everyone the same way. So I thought it is. Whenever I watch them myself already, I always end up having discussions with myself and with the video, kind of discussing and debating on the different topics that he proposes. So I thought, why not? I feel it's a good thing to do, and hopefully it's interesting for you as well. So there you go. So today we'll start with the first ever video that he did, very short, but we'll sort anyways. So how games convey pain. All right, so let's start. Episode 1.
It can't be overstated how important the sense of pain and irritation is to us. Pain is the body's natural way of saying, hey, we have a problem, do something about it.
The first thing I want to say here is I hope I won't. I don't feel like stopping it all the time, but first thing I want to say here is, in games, it's important to convey everything. Like whenever you're getting healed, is the opposite. You have to know that something good is happening to you. So it's not just about pain, but I think everything has to be have to be conveyed correctly. And in this case, he's talking.
Pain can also help us learn
pain.
from our mistakes. Through it, we become more aware of the dangers around us. It's literally a case of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So in short, understanding pain can be instrumental to survival. And survival in itself is a large part of what makes a lot of games kind of fun. In a majority of the games that we play today, death is often a constant factor. Whether it's fighting off hordes of zombies, aliens, or sometimes just straight up Dracula, the characters that we play as are often in the face of constant danger and opposition in order to make our games more exciting and engaging. So naturally, we need to be able to sense when we are in peril. However, in games, we don't and probably shouldn't experience pain. So the question becomes, how do we convey pain without pain?
Wasn't a Kickstarter? Let's just get into the section. But wasn't a Kickstarter about connecting, like putting like a needle in your vein and like getting blood out of you every time you died or you got hit? Wasn't that like something? I don't know. But yeah. Anyways. The other thing I wanted to say from something he said at the beginning is that a lot of the times it feels very bad whenever you play when you think that something is going to happen and something else happens instead. Unless it's like a funny or like jokey thing, it usually doesn't feel that great. So in terms of like pain, for example, it is usually a good thing to visually make it aware that whatever you're about to do, jump in lava or whatever, is probably going to hurt. So it's not just about the visuals of whether or not you're getting hurt, but also seeing potentially what could get you hurt.
A common and straightforward solution to this problem came in the form of a simple infographic known as the Life Bar. Making its debut in Nintendo's 1983 arcade hit Punch-Out!, the Life Bar has been a staple aspect of game design ever since. While the specifics may vary from game to game, the Life Bar generally serves as a simple and easy-to-read representation of the player character's health. As the player takes damage or makes mistakes, the bar will decrease a certain amount. If the bar is ever empty, it will usually trigger a death or a game over, a type of fail state that will send players back to an earlier point in the game to try again.
Or in old games, completely, having a game over. But anyways, I wanted to, also here he talks about the game bar, but it's just something that's going to happen in many other subjects as well, which I guess I'll tackle now in the first video, since, I'll take advantage of this video, it's very short. That is that a lot of things are grounded in what games are. So for example, the game bar is something that you expect or know, like everyone knows how it works, and it's become like a staple, a normal thing in video games, and that happens with many things. which it's difficult to do without as well, but it can be very interesting if you find ways to actually do without it.
The way the life bar is presented to the player can come in many different forms. These commonly included bars, dots or icons such as the Legend of Zelda's heart system, circular gauges, numbers and percentages, and any combination of these. Some games tried adding a bit of narrative to their health bars, such as old first-person shooters like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, which added little character portraits, in addition to a number
games
of
that do
percentage.
these kind of things.
Many modern first-person shooters don't use a quantifiable health system at all. Instead, these games use more of a vignetting effect, which increases in intensity as the player gets closer and closer to the breaking point.
Yet, like, in the background, it's still a simple health bar. It's just this health bar that goes from 0, like from 10, or from like 100 to 0, and that changes your visuals as that goes down, but then as soon as you get out of combat, it just replenishes very fast. But it is still, at the end of the day, still like in a health bar, meaning a number that dictates how healthy you are.
Although the problem with this kind of health system is that it leaves players rather unsure about how much punishment they can actually take. Aside from vignetting effects, some games use the character themselves to convey its status. Super Mario Bros. In particular does this. In this game, you start out as regular Mario, where you're vulnerable and any hit you take is an instant death. However, if you collect a Super Mushroom power-up,
which you could
become
argue it's
Super
not
Mario,
technically a
increasing
health
your
bar.
size and allowing you to take an extra.
It's just a more original and specific way of doing a health system, which honestly is very good, and it worked with the game
And
extremely
in the
well.
newer games, any subsequent power-up you collect also allows you to take an extra hit, upon which it reverts you back to your previous form. Regardless of exactly how it's implemented, the general simplicity of the life bar and its variants makes it a solid tool for informing the player of their status while still allowing them to stay focused on the actual game. This information also adds an additional layer of strategy to the game, letting players make risky decisions based on their status. However, just having the life bar alone might not be enough. Additional
Agreed.
feedback is also important. If the player is taking damage and they don't notice or understand why they're taking damage in the first place, then that can be extremely frustrating when they suddenly die without knowing what was even hitting them. The last thing a game designer wants is for their audience to feel like their failure was completely out of their control when it actually wasn't.
And in a lot of games, this happens more often than you think. Probably all of you have experienced at some point a situation where you're playing in a game and suddenly you die, and you just did not pay attention to your health bar. And a lot of games just assume that you'll be paying attention to the health bar. And usually if you continue playing those games, then you will end up paying attention to your health bar more. But like he says, it's definitely not enough. If a situation like this happens, it's just badly designed. You need to add some type of visual that would help you understand something bad is happening, and then maybe direct your vision towards the health bar.
Therefore, feedback in addition to the life bar is incredibly important.
Yeah.
So what is this additional feedback? Well, when we sense pain, we naturally react to it. If something pokes us in the eye, we'll probably rub our eyes. If something kicks us in the shin, we'll probably grab our legs. So games need to do something of a similar nature. There needs to be some kind of tell to let players know that they've taken damage. Thankfully, games have tons of options for providing this kind of feedback. From animation, to visuals, to audio, even mechanics. Some of the more pronounced ways of letting players really know they've taken...
So, sometimes having all of the above is a good thing. Not only you're getting staggered, for example, when getting hit, but you also have the visuals in the thing, plus you're potentially, whatever other thing, plus you have a sound or whatever. So sometimes having all of these things together is the better
can
option.
be found in the form of stuff like controller vibrations, or perhaps having the player character either stunned or knocked back upon taking a huge hit. Some games depict...
In fighting games, it is quite different, because obviously you cannot really add these type of visuals too much, because it is usually a versus game. So do you only show it when player one is getting hit? Do you show it when both players are getting hit, which would be a mess? So usually that ends up being simply sound and animations. Of course,
Their player characters is tired when they're low on health. Sometimes characters will be hunched over in their idle animations, or their voice clips will sound more exhausted as they move about. Now, there are tons of ways to approach this problem, but what's important is that it has to make an impact. The
I agree.
appropriate tools need to be there so the player is aware of what's going on in their immediate surroundings. If these tools are not there, then you run the risk of your players getting so frustrated that they give up on your game. And we don't want that.
Totally. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, I totally agree. I think obviously that's the thing is like you can do it in many ways, and obviously you have to find the way that works the best for your game. A lot of the times, and the budget, that is also something that never really mentioned as much, but you have to argue. For example, he mentioned in RPG games having different animations and different voice lines whenever you're tired, but that means a lot of voice lines, like especially for like a game like that where you have tons of characters. That is a lot of work and money, so it is difficult. Yeah, and you have to argue that for turn-based games, having an actual health bar or just having the health bar itself start, going up and down, like, and having, a red color around it or whatever, can attract the attention enough. Because you're the one progressing through turns, anyways. But one of the important things, like most things in design, is you really have to think about what worked with your game and how can you do it the best way possible for the specific game, right? And again, one of the phrases I tend to say, the most important thing is to consider things, to think about the things yourself, even if you don't end up adding them, right? You could think about adding like a visual effect in the camera, but do you need it? Do you don't? That's when you weight the different things. So that was it. I guess that was how to convey games. Our first react, I guess, to the design docs. Hope you liked it. And if so, I'll continue doing them. So anyways, that was me, Deep Raccoon. Thanks for watching. And make sure to follow DesignDoc as well. Thanks for watching and see you next time.